Welcome everyone. In this video, we're going to take a close look at some of the most significant and valuable Jefferson nickels ever struck. We'll uncover the history behind these coins, break down what makes them so rare and desirable to collectors, and reveal their true market value today. Let's get started. First coin, the 1943 P Jefferson nickel. Now, at a glance, you might just see a dirty, worn-out old nickel, but to a collector, this coin represents a pivotal moment in American history and a fascinating, albeit common in lower grades, piece of the numismatic puzzle. The Jefferson nickel series itself was still relatively new in 1943, having only begun in 1938, but the world was a very different place by this point. What makes this coin, and all coins from this specific year, so collectible isn't just its age. It's the metal it's made from and the story of a nation fully committed to winning a world war. This isn't just a piece of change. It's a tiny, tangible artifact from the home front during one of the most defining periods of the 20th century, and that context elevates it far beyond its face value. To truly understand the 1943 P nickel, we have to dive into the history of its creation. The United States was fully immersed in the Second World War by 1943, and the war effort required immense amounts of strategic metals. Nickel, a key component in the 5-cent coin's pre-war composition, was absolutely critical for hardening steel for armor plating, artillery, and other essential military equipment. In a dramatic shift, the mint removed nickel from the 5-cent coin altogether for a period starting in late 1942 and running through 1945. This 1943 P issue is part of that famous Wartime series, but it's made from a unique composition of 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. This silver alloy composition was used because the traditional copper-nickel mix was no longer an option, and it gives these coins a distinct, slightly warmer and less magnetic property compared to their pre-war and post-war counterparts. The Philadelphia Mint, signified by the lack of a mint mark, produced over 270 million of these coins, making it a common issue in worn grades, but its historical significance is what drives collector interest. The design of this coin by Felix Schlag is a masterpiece of American numismatic art, even in its current very dirty condition. On the obverse, we have the left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, one of the most detailed and respected portraits on any U.S. coin. Flowing to the left is the word Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust" runs along the left edge. The date, 1943, is positioned clearly below Jefferson's portrait. Now, turning it over, the reverse is what many collectors find particularly compelling. It features a detailed view of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate. You can make out the fine lines of the columns, the balustrade, and the subtle details of the building's facade, though on a well-circulated piece like this, those details are heavily worn down. The inscriptions Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America frame the building, with the Latin motto E Pluribus Unum prominently displayed above it. The P mint mark for Philadelphia, a departure from tradition as Philadelphia coins typically didn't carry a mint mark until later, is located to the right of the building, a small but crucial feature that confirms its wartime origin. When we talk about the rarity and survival of the 1943 P Jefferson nickel, the conversation is all about condition. In a very dirty, heavily circulated state like the one we're examining, this coin is actually quite common. Millions were struck, and millions entered circulation, being used by Americans on a daily basis throughout the war years and beyond. They were handled, spent, and jarred until their features were worn smooth. However, the rarity escalates dramatically as you move up the grading scale. Coins that saw little to no circulation, those that retained their original luster and sharp details, are surprisingly elusive. While not a rare coin in an absolute sense, finding a 1943 P nickel in mint state, especially with full steps on the design of Monticello, is a significant challenge. The vast majority of survivors look much like this one, well-worn, dark with accumulated grime, and telling a story of a long life in commerce. In the context of the Jefferson nickel series, and specifically the wartime silver alloy issues, the 1943 P holds a special place as the first full year of the distinctive silver alloy composition. For collectors building a set of Jefferson nickels, this is a key date, not because of a low mintage, but because of its historical importance as a wartime coin. It stands out as a fundamental type coin for the series. The demand for this coin is steady and consistent. New collectors seek it out as an affordable piece of World War II history, while seasoned specialists look for high-grade examples to complete top-tier sets. Its appeal is universal among nickel collectors. While it may not have the headline-grabbing status of the 1950 D, its role as a common yet historically vital issue ensures it will always have a home in collections. Now let's break down the market value for a 1943 P nickel in today's market, and the numbers are quite accessible for such a historic piece. For a coin in a state similar to this one, what we would call a good or very good grade with heavy wear and dirt, the value is quite modest, typically ranging from about $600 to $1,000. It's a very affordable entry point. As the condition improves, so does the price. A coin in extremely fine condition, with sharper details and less wear, might bring between $1,500 and $2,000. The real value jump occurs with mint state examples. A coin graded MS-60 can be had for around $2,500 to $3,500, but as the quality within the mint state tier increases, the price can climb to $4,000, $4,400, or even more for specimens with superb eye appeal, and most importantly, full steps on Monticello, which is the key to premium value for any Jefferson nickel. For any collector interested in acquiring a 1943 P nickel, your focus should be squarely on condition and eye appeal. Given that this coin is so common in lower grades, there is little reason to settle for a battered, problem-ridden example. Take your time to find a piece that is well struck and has as much original detail as possible for its grade, even if that means paying a small premium. While this particular coin is very dirty, you should generally look for coins that are free of heavy corrosion, deep scratches, or other damage that detracts from their appearance. For uncirculated examples, the full steps designation on the reverse, indicating all 5 steps of Monticello are fully separated, is the ultimate goal and commands a substantial price multiplier. You can find these coins at virtually any coin show. Through online dealers or in larger lots of Jefferson nickels. Be patient, and you can secure a nice example without breaking the bank. In conclusion, the 1943 P Jefferson nickel is far more than just a 5-cent piece. It is a common coin with an extraordinarily uncommon story, a direct relic of a nation's industrial and military might during a time of global conflict. Its unique silver alloy composition sets it apart physically, and its place, as the first full-year issue of that composition, cements its historical significance. While finding one is not difficult, finding a truly high-quality example remains a rewarding challenge. It is a cornerstone coin that holds immense appeal for both the beginner looking to touch a piece of history and the advanced collector pursuing a condition rarity masterpiece, making it a perennial favorite in the numismatic world. And speaking of cornerstone coins with fascinating stories, the next piece we're going to examine is one that often gets overlooked, but tells an equally compelling tale of American ingenuity. We'll be taking a close look at a 1928 D Buffalo nickel, a coin from the heart of the Roaring Twenties, struck at the Denver Mint during a period of immense economic contrast. We'll explore why its low mintage creates such a stir among series specialists and what you need to know to identify a genuinely high-grade example. You won't want to miss it. Coin number 2. The 1944 P Jefferson nickel. On the surface, This looks like just another well-circulated, dirty old nickel, but it represents a critical chapter in both American history and the story of our coinage. This coin is a direct descendant of the monumental composition change that occurred just a year prior, and it continued the unique metallic legacy of World War II. While the 1943 issue was the first of its kind, the 1944 P is a coin that saw the war effort reach its peak intensity, a time when every resource still counted. Its collectability isn't rooted in a tiny mintage, but in its status as a tangible, silver alloy artifact from a nation still completely mobilized for a global conflict, making it a piece of history you can hold in your hand. The historical backdrop of the 1944 P nickel is one of determined resolve. By 1944, the Allied forces were making significant advances, but the war was far from over. The demand for critical metals like nickel for armor and ammunition remained insatiable. Consequently, the U.S. Mint continued its emergency composition for the 5-cent piece, producing this coin not from copper-nickel but from a 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese alloy. This war-nickel composition gives these coins a distinct weight and appearance, and they are the only U.S. nickels that are not magnetic. The Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the large P mint mark above Monticello, was operating at full capacity, producing over 119 million of these coins to facilitate everyday commerce on the home front, all while conserving vital resources for the battlefront. The design, a masterpiece by Felix Schlag, remains one of the most elegant in U.S. circulating coinage, even under layers of grime and wear. The obverse features a sharp, left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, with the word Liberty to the left and the inscription In God We Trust along the right edge. The date, 1944, is positioned clearly below the portrait. The reverse is dominated by a finely detailed rendering of Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello. On a heavily circulated coin like this, the steps, the columns, and the fine lines of the building are worn down, but the overall grandeur of the design is still evident. The key identifier for this series, the large P mint mark, is prominently displayed right in the center of the reverse, directly above the dome of Monticello, a feature that makes wartime nickels instantly recognizable. When discussing the rarity and survival rate of the 1944 P nickel, the story is a tale of two extremes. In heavily worn, circulated condition like the example we're looking at, this coin is exceptionally common. Vast numbers were produced and spent, ending up in pockets, cash registers, and jars for decades. However, its survival in high grades tells a different story. While not the rarest Jefferson nickel by any means, finding a 1944 P in true mint state condition, especially with full, sharp detail, is a notable challenge for a collector. The coins that entered circulation were used hard, and those that survived in top condition without bag marks, cleaning, or loss of luster are considerably scarcer than the mintage figure might suggest, making high-grade examples the true prize. Within the Jefferson nickel series, the 1944 P holds a firm position as a key type coin for the wartime silver alloy series. It doesn't have the lower mintage of its 1944 D or 1944 S counterparts, but its status as a Philadelphia Mint issue from the heart of the war ensures consistent demand. For a collector assembling a complete set of Jefferson nickels, this is not a date you can skip. It is a fundamental building block. Its appeal is broad, attracting both novices who are drawn to its historical narrative and advanced specialists who pursue condition census examples. It stands out not for its scarcity, but for its representation of a nation's sustained sacrifice and industrial commitment during a prolonged global struggle. So, what is the 1944 P nickel worth in today's collecting market? For a coin in a very dirty, heavily worn state, what we would classify as a good to very good grade, the value remains close to its melt value for its silver content, typically ranging from about $1,500 to $2.5. As the condition improves to a nice, clearly detailed, extremely fine example, the value can climb to the $3,000 to $3,200 range. The significant premiums begin with uncirculated examples. A coin graded MS-60 might sell for $3,600 to $4,000, but a superb, lustrous example graded MS-65 can command prices between $4,100 and $4,800, with specimens boasting the coveted full steps designation on Monticello reaching well into the hundreds of dollars. For collectors on the hunt for a 1944 P nickel, the strategy should be to seek out the best possible condition you can afford within your budget. Given its abundance in low grades, there's no need to acquire a problem-ridden coin. Look for a piece that has strong details for its grade, with as much of the design elements visible as possible. While this coin is dirty, generally you want to avoid examples with active corrosion or heavy, distracting marks. For uncirculated coins, focus on luster and surface quality, and always be on the lookout for the full steps detail on the reverse, as this attribute exponentially increases value. These coins are plentiful at coin shows, online auctions, and from dealers, so take your time to find a nice, problem-free representative for your collection. In summary, the 1944 P Jefferson nickel is a coin of profound historical significance and steady numismatic appeal. It may not be the rarest date, but it is an essential piece of the wartime narrative, a symbol of American resilience and adaptability during the Second World War. Its unique silver composition makes it physically distinct, and its classic design is emblematic of an era. It serves as a perfect entry point for new collectors and a condition challenge for veterans, ensuring its place in collections for generations to come. It is a humble coin with a grand story, a true relic of the home front. And that story of iconic American coinage continues with our next featured piece, one that represents a completely different era and a major minting controversy. We'll be taking an in-depth look at a 1916 D Mercury dime, a key date that every collector dreams of finding. With its incredibly low mintage and immense popularity, this coin presents a set of challenges and rewards all its own. We'll break down how to authenticate a genuine example and what the current market looks like for this classic rarity. Be sure to join us for that deep dive. Coin number 3. The 1947 S Jefferson nickel. While it may not have the dramatic silver composition of the wartime issues that preceded it, this coin holds a different kind of significance that makes it a key target for series specialists. What you're looking at here is a coin that marks a return to normalcy, struck in the traditional copper-nickel alloy, but it comes from the San Francisco Mint, a facility whose output was becoming increasingly strategic. Its collectability stems from a combination of a modest mintage and the particular challenges of finding it in high grades, making it a notable sleeper coin within the Jefferson nickel series that can surprise those who underestimate it. The historical context of the 1947 S nickel is one of transition and recovery. The Second World War had been over for 2 years, and the nation was shifting from a wartime economy to a peacetime one. The special silver manganese composition used for nickels from 1942 to 1945 was discontinued, and in 1946, the mint returned to the standard 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy. By 1947, production was normalizing, but the San Francisco Mint, which had played a crucial role during the war, was operating at a much lower capacity than its Philadelphia and Denver counterparts. In this year, the S Mint produced just over 24 million nickels, a figure that pales in comparison to the hundreds of millions struck at Philadelphia. This relatively low mintage, set against the backdrop of a booming post-war economy, sets the stage for this coin's modern-day scarcity. The design remains the classic Felix Schlag creation that was introduced in 1938. The obverse features the dignified left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, with the word liberty flowing along the left side and the motto "In God We Trust" etched along the right edge. The date, 1947, is cleanly displayed beneath the portrait. The reverse continues with the intricate depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic estate. Even in its current very dirty and circulated state, the basic form of the building, the steps, and the columns are discernible. The small S, mint mark, indicating its San Francisco origin, is located to the right of the building, a subtle but critical feature that distinguishes this coin from its sister issues, and is the very reason for its elevated status among collectors. When we talk about the rarity and survival of the 1947 S Jefferson nickel, the narrative is entirely about condition. In a well-worn, circulated state like this one, the coin is still obtainable, but it is decidedly scarcer than any Philadelphia or Denver issue from the same year. Its low mintage meant fewer coins entered the stream of commerce to begin with, and over decades of circulation and melting, the surviving population in any condition is limited. However, the true rarity of this issue becomes starkly apparent in mint state. Finding a 1947 S with full, unblemished luster and sharp details is a genuine challenge for even the most dedicated nickel collector. The coins that were saved were often stored in rolls, but bag marks and contact abrasions are common, making pristine, high-grade specimens exceptionally elusive. Within the Jefferson nickel series, the 1947 S stands out as one of the key post-war rarities, often mentioned in the same breath as the 1939 D and 1950 D. It is not merely a semi-key date. It is a fundamental condition rarity that can make or break a high-grade collection. Collector demand for this coin is consistently strong and specific. Series specialists who are building a complete set simply cannot finish their album without it, and they are often forced to compete for the few high-quality examples that appear on the market. This creates a consistent and robust demand that far exceeds that for common-date nickels, cementing its place as a cornerstone issue for the series and a coin that commands respect and a premium price. Let's break down the current market value for the 1947 S nickel in today's numismatic marketplace. For a coin in a very dirty, heavily worn condition, perhaps graded good or very good, you are still looking at a significant premium over face value due to its low mintage, with prices typically ranging from $800 to $1,300. As we move up to a choice, extremely fine example with most details sharp but no luster, the value can jump to the $1,500 to $2,000 range. The real financial leap occurs with uncirculated examples. A coin graded MS-60 can command between $2,500 and $3,250. However, for a superb, lustrous example graded MS-65, prices can easily range from $4,000 to over $4,200, with full-step specimens soaring even higher. This dramatic price curve highlights the extreme premium placed on condition for this specific issue. For the collector aiming to add a 1947 S to their holdings, the advice is to prioritize authenticity and quality above all else. Given its value, this is a date that has been counterfeited, so purchasing from a reputable dealer or opting for examples certified by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC is highly recommended. Because of its condition rarity, settling for a low-grade, problem-ridden coin is a false economy. Your investment is better placed in the best example you can afford, even if that means a coin graded strictly but with good eye appeal. Look for pieces with strong strikes, clean surfaces, and as much original luster as possible. These coins are not found in pocket change. Your best hunting grounds will be established coin dealers, major auctions, and larger coin shows. In conclusion, the 1947 S Jefferson nickel is a coin of immense importance and deceptive rarity within its series. It is a tangible relic of a nation finding its footing after a world war, produced in limited numbers at a historic mint. While it may look humble in a worn state, its numismatic significance is towering. It represents a formidable challenge for the condition-conscious collector and a necessary prize for the completist. This coin perfectly embodies how a modest mintage, combined with the passage of time and the realities of survival, can transform a common denomination piece into a highly coveted and valuable collectible. The pursuit of such challenging post-war rarities naturally leads us to another legendary coin from the same era. In our next discussion, we will be examining a coin that shares a similar story of low mintage and high demand, but from a different denomination, the 1949 S Roosevelt dime. We'll explore the reasons behind its elusive nature, analyze the current valuation for this key date, and offer strategies for acquiring one for your own collection. It's a deep dive you won't want to miss. Coin number 4. Today we're examining a coin that many would pass over without a second thought, but one that holds a particularly important place in the world of modern numismatics, the 1960 D Jefferson nickel. At first glance, this is just another dirty, well-circulated nickel from the middle of the 20th century. However, for collectors dedicated to the Jefferson series, this specific date and mint mark combination represents one of the most significant condition rarities of the entire modern era. Its story is not one of a low mintage, but rather one of a perfect storm of production issues and a lack of collector saving at the time, creating a situation where finding a high-quality example is a monumental challenge. The historical context for the 1960 D nickel is one of a nation on the cusp of a new decade, with the post-war boom in full swing. The Denver Mint was a production powerhouse, churning out millions of coins to meet the demands of a thriving economy. For the 1960 D nickel, the mintage figure was astronomically high, at over 192 million pieces, which should, in theory, make it a very common coin. And in worn, circulated condition, it is exactly that. The intrigue, however, lies in the specific way these coins were produced. It is believed that the dies used at the Denver Mint this year were often overpolished or worn, leading to a characteristic weak strike, particularly on the steps of Monticello on the reverse. Furthermore, with so many coins being produced and no special reason for the public to save them, very few were set aside in pristine, mint state condition directly from the bank rolls. The design is the enduring and familiar work of Felix Schlag. The obverse presents the left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, with the word liberty on the left and the motto "In God We Trust" on the right. The date, 1960, is positioned below the portrait. The reverse features the detailed rendering of Monticello. On a typical 1960 D, even one that is not heavily worn, you will often notice a lack of definition on the lines of the building, particularly the central steps and the horizontal lines of the portico. This is a hallmark of the weak strike endemic to this issue. The D mint mark is found to the right of the building, a small letter that signifies a coin of outsized importance for specialists. The discussion of rarity for the 1960 D Jefferson nickel is a classic lesson in the difference between absolute rarity and conditional rarity. In grades from good through about uncirculated, this coin is extraordinarily common and can be found in virtually every junk box at any coin show for a few cents. Its rarity is virtually non-existent in these circulated states. The entire numismatic significance of this date pivots on its status in mint state. A problem-free, fully struck 1960 D nickel in MS60 is scarce, but when you seek out examples in the superbly preserved grades of MS65 and above, you are dealing with a genuine rarity. The number of coins that survived with full luster, minimal bag marks, and most importantly, a sharp, full steps strike on Monticello is incredibly small, making it one of the key condition rarities of the entire series. Within the Jefferson nickel series, the 1960 D stands as a giant. It is not a rare date like the 1939 D or 1950 D, but it is arguably even more challenging to find in top condition. For collectors aiming to assemble a high-grade set, especially one focused on the full steps designation, The 1960D is often the single most difficult and expensive coin to acquire from the entire period after 1959. Its collector demand is incredibly niche but fiercely intense. While a beginner can ignore it, the advanced specialist knows that this coin can be the final, frustrating, and costly hurdle to completing a top-tier registry set, creating a dedicated and competitive market for the handful of superb examples that exist. The market value for the 1960 D Jefferson nickel reflects this extreme dichotomy in availability based on condition. For a circulated example like the one we are looking at, the value is purely nominal, often selling for just its face value of 5 cents or perhaps up to 25 cents. There is no premium for a worn 1960D, however. The moment you step into uncirculated grades, the prices escalate rapidly. A lower-end mint state coin, MS-60 to MS-62, might trade for $2,000 to $2,300. But for a gem-quality example graded MS-65, prices can range from $3,000 to $3,800. For the pinnacle examples graded MS-66 with the full steps designation, the price can easily reach $4,000 to $4,500, and the finest known specimens have sold for even more, solidifying its status as a premium-priced condition rarity. For any collector pursuing this coin, the strategy must be one of extreme patience and a focus on quality. Do not waste resources on a low-grade example. Its value is in its state of preservation. Because of its reputation, it is crucial to buy a coin that has been certified by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC, as this guarantees both authenticity and an expert assessment of its condition and strike. When evaluating a certified coin, look for one with brilliant luster, clean surfaces free of heavy marks, and the strongest possible strike on the steps of Monticello. Your search will likely be a long one, confined to major coin auctions, reputable dealer inventories, and high-level coin shows where such specialized rarities are traded. In conclusion, the 1960 D Jefferson nickel is a numismatic paradox, a coin produced in the hundreds of millions that is one of the rarest finds in the series for the discerning collector. It serves as a powerful reminder that rarity is not always about how many coins were made, but about how many survived in a specific, desirable state. It is a coin that humbles advanced collectors and represents the ultimate prize for a Jefferson nickel specialist, proving that even the most mundane-seeming coins can hold extraordinary secrets and value. This journey into the world of modern condition rarities naturally leads us to another iconic coin from a different series that shares a similar story. Next, we will be turning our attention to the 1970 S Lincoln cent, specifically the small date variety. Much like the 1960 D nickel, its story is one of a subtle variation, initial public inattention, and a subsequent scramble by collectors that has made it a highly sought-after modern key date. We'll break down how to identify it and what makes it so valuable today.